This is my audience. Okay. Take one. Okay. Ready? Okay. Hello, my name is Samantha, and I'm a nurse at a pediatric clinic here in Lincoln, where vaccines are required to be a patient. Now, before you think that may be a funny way to do business, let me explain why. When I was a child, my mom never questioned getting me vaccines because she knew it would keep her child healthy. Well, today it's more of an option than a requirement. First, I'm going to discuss what a vaccine is, who should get them, as well as who should receive them. Secondly, I'm going to discuss the benefits of getting vaccines and the diseases that they prevent. Lastly, I will focus on the controversy on whether to get vaccines and myths about vaccines. I've spent 3 years working in pediatric clinic alongside the pediatrician I work for named Dr. Applegate. He is a fellow in the American Academy of Pediatrics and is board certified by the American Board of Pediatrics. So today you're going to learn what a vaccine is, who should get them, the benefits of vaccinations, and the myths sometimes associated with them. Almost every child in this country gets a vaccine, which means you may have some questions. I'm here today to give you a little bit of insight. So first, what is a vaccine? According to the CDC, a vaccine is a product that stimulates a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease, protecting that person from the disease. Getting a vaccine has some view as a risk. Well, we take a risk every single day, whether it be driving the car, getting in the shower, or eating your supper. And we do these things without thinking what could happen. Well, a child is given a vaccine, is exposed to just enough of the virus and bacteria to cause the immunity of the disease, therefore creating what's called memory B cells. These cells produce antibodies to destroy the virus and bacteria before they make you sick. These cells last a lifetime, hence why you don't ever get any vaccines after you leave high school, essentially. When do vaccines begin? As early as the year 1000. The Chinese inoculated against smallpox. That method involved grinding up the smallpox scabs and blowing it up their nostrils. Sounds disgusting, but it happened. Inoculation may also have been practiced by scratching matter from a smallpox sore into the skin. For who gets vaccines? Well, it starts at the very young age of 1 day. On the very first day of birth, before you even leave the hospital, you get what's a hepatitis B. After that, you get vaccines at the 2-month, 4-month, 6-month, 12-month, 15-month, and 18-month. After that, 2 years old, then your kindergarten shots, which we talked about the last time. 12 years old, 16 years old, and depending on your provider's schedule, these may vary. People who also get vaccinated are those who are immunocompromised, have a heart or a lung disease, behind on vaccines or delayed, exposed to someone who may have, for example, chickenpox, measles, mumps, shingles, anything like that. You may need a booster vaccine for those. If you get bitten by anything, such as a rabid dog or a raccoon, you may need the rabies vaccination. Or even lately, it's been bats in the home. Those vaccines can be upwards of $50,000 for each vaccine. So you want to avoid the bats. If you stepped on a nail, you may need a tetanus. Tetanus vaccines you need to get once every 10 years. If you do step on a nail, it's good for the first 5 years. If it's on the second half of your tetanus, second half of the 10 years, are you okay? The second half, you're going to need a booster for that. And then finally, the population of 50 years and older. Children who are behind on vaccines may need to be caught up, and the schedule may be closer together or may miss the age range of certain vaccines. Some vaccinations, if you miss the initial dose, sometimes you are not able to get the vaccine after that. The older population may need a Prevnar or a Pneumovax, which helps protect against getting pneumonia for those who have heart or lung conditions. Another common elder vaccine is given to prevent the spread of shingles, which is also known as Shingrix. Next, I'm going to talk about some benefits of vaccinations and the diseases that they may prevent. Because of advances in medical sciences, your child can be protected against more diseases than ever before. Some diseases that once injured or killed thousands of children have been eliminated completely, and others are close to extinction, primarily due to safe and effective vaccines. Polio is one example of the great impact that vaccines have had in the United States. Polio was one of America's most feared diseases, causing death and paralysis across the country. But today, thanks to vaccinations, there are no reports of polio in the U.S. Vaccines have reduced and in some cases completely eliminated many diseases that killed or severely disabled people for just a few generations ago. For example, the smallpox vaccination eradicated that disease worldwide. Your children don't have to get the smallpox shots, and more because the disease no longer exists. By vaccinating children against rubella, which is also known as the German measles, the risk that pregnant women will pass the virus onto their fetus or newborn has been dramatically decreased. The birth defects associated with the virus are no longer seen in the United States. Lastly, have you ever been scrolling through Facebook and you run into a mom telling the world how she doesn't want to vaccinate her child or she's too scared to hurt them because they're too little? Well, today the controversy associated with vaccines are also associated with myths. Are infants too young to get vaccines? Absolutely not. That is the ideal time to start vaccinations prior to exposure. They are immunized on the day one, clear up until they are at least 16. This is something that is required by law of a doctor to explain prior to administering vaccines in a clinic. And this is where they will answer all of your questions. According to what every parent should know about vaccines, for example, children under 2 are 500 times more likely to catch meningitis if someone with the infection lives in their home. However, if they were vaccinated, the odds are very slim. 90% of newborns whose mothers are infected with a hepatitis B will contract hepatitis. This is why we give it on day 1 of life. Pertussis infects nearly 3,000 children, causing at least 6 deaths every year. Almost all of those children are less than 1. Why is being naturally infected not always best? The difference between vaccination and natural infection is the price paid for immunity. The inconvenience of several shots and the occasional hurt arm are nothing versus the hospital visits and potential death and paralysis that some diseases can give you. For example, paralysis from natural polio infection, hepatitis B, and deafness from mumps, the pneumonia from natural infections are a high price to pay for immunity. So in conclusion, you have learned what a vaccine is, who should get them, benefits of getting some vaccines, and some myths associated with them. Almost every child in this country gets vaccines. If we continue vaccinating now and vaccinating completely, parents in the future may be able to trust that some diseases today will no longer be able to harm their children. I hope today some of this information will help you make the choice that is best for you and your family. Thank you.